Ymedia Group, the fastest growing media group in North America.
We have a very special guest on our live show today. So I'll request all the callers to please hold the lines. And the topic that we were discussing about life, about reading, about growth, about so many other things, we will carry on that discussion. But I think nobody better than our guest can explain all this better. So at this point, I'd like to welcome the president and CEO at the global level, Alfred, whom I met personally as well. It was great to meet him. Alfred, a very warm welcome on Y Media. How are you, sir?
I'm very well. Thank you so much. It's so lovely. It's a privilege and it's an honor. I was saying to your team a little earlier, I was so much looking forward to having this session. And yes, it's a pleasure to be here.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much for your time. And before I even start the show, I must tell you, CIMA organizes one of the major tournaments here in Canada, CIMA Mayor's Trophy. It's been on for the last 22 years. This is the first time that we also got to participate as a team. We'll talk about Y Media team a little bit later, other teams a little bit later. But one of the leaders that I got to meet there, interact at our studios, and once again today is Alfred. Alfred, why don't you tell something about yourself first, to where you were born and uh, how you became, the leader of CIMA, such a high-ranking position at a global level. So tell us about your story first. Then I have a few questions, please.
Mr. Yudvir, thank you so much for that question. As people have gathered, my name is Alfred Ramosedi. I am born and bred in South Africa, but I come from a very, very humble background. Born into a family of 8 children, six of the boys, 3, 2, and then we've got 6 child, 5th of the boys in the child. You can see there's too many of us that I don't even remember where I was in the lineage. We grew up on a farm, Yudvir, and team, where probably I grew up on a farm school where there was very little to learn. The first time I got to be introduced to learning anything English, anything standards, was when I was 13 years old. Grew up throughout that, got a bursary from the mines. There's a small province in South Africa that used to produce the majority of gold, and it's called the Free State. It's known for rural environments, farming activities. So I grew up in that environment. I was lucky one of those mines gave me a bursary. I studied my Bachelor of Commerce. My first job was on a mine, but the second job, so I did spend a bit of time underground looking for gold and supporting people to get gold. The second job, someone who was interviewing me for a management accounting job said to me, for you to come and do this job, you have to be CIMA qualified. If you don't have it, I said, I don't have it. They said, if you don't have it, we'll pay for it. But remember, Alfred, if you fail, you're not going to lose your job. It was a very big incentive for me to qualify as a CIMA. Years later, because CIMA changed my life, I decided to contribute back into CIMA by participating in the structure, organizing events, supporting members, mentoring people. I'm talking since 1995. I participated in the structure. I found myself in the council, and I was lucky or privileged, Yudvir, that this year I was elected as the 93rd president of the Chartered Institute of Management Accountants.
What a brilliant story! What an inspiring story, Alfred, you have. For those who have tuned in late, it's a live show. But I once again want to remind you, we have Alfred Ramosedi. He's the president and the CEO of CIMA, and he's sharing his story. Alfred, just before you joined the show, we were talking. My co-host Simran, she was reminding me that, sir, whenever you meet any youngsters, you tell them to do 3 things, and
Yes.
I think I'll say what I tell the youngster to do 3 things, but I know you can explain it much better. I always tell them number 1 is read, number 2 is
Yes.
read, and number 3 is read. Alfred, please, you are the guru, you are the master. Go ahead, go ahead.
There's a thing there as well, which I normally didn't get to. And growing up from humble beginnings, which is something we touched on maybe last time when we talked, to say
Yeah.
these good leaders, how come these good leaders come from humble backgrounds? and they tend to have such deep emotional support and helping people. So what I've learned before I get to these three things, which we called Alfredism, that's time when we spoke, is that I have learned a motto that is very simple for everybody out there. One is that there's no shortcut to hard work. You got to work the hard yards because the lessons in life normally take about 21 iterations before they become practical. Two, if it has to be, it's one of the mottos I learned throughout the period. If it has to be in anything in life, it has to start with you. If it has to be, it has to start with you. So that's the two things I think that underpin this. So, but there are three things that we discussed last time that I mentioned that, first, in life, as I mentioned, there are no shortcuts. You got to work hard, but in working hard, you must also make sure that you stay current. You must make sure that your mind is always knowing the things, it's always knowing the next point, because we know that the knowledge of today can actually be obliterated by tomorrow. And someone can become a competitor and take your opportunity away. And now you want to blame the company that they're hiring somebody else when you should have actually been going ahead and learning. So you should actually be ensuring that your brain, your matter learns all the time. Two, there's no shortcut to hard work. You've got to focus and you've got to learn to do the things right and make sure that your body is relevant and can take up the part. But the second part of the body is that you must take care of your body. You only have one body and you have only one life. You must give it the best chance you can get and feed it the right energy. I can tell you, if I go into meetings, I can tell you very quickly if somebody does not eat well, somebody is not healthy, somebody does not look after themselves. The third component is that really your soul, I'm not talking just spiritually, but your soul, yourself, your emotion must be balanced. The issue that normally contributes to people having emotions is because we take baggage. Whenever we have conflict, whenever we have problems, we carry these problems, we add them. And the simple thing that my grandmother told me is like when you carry these things, it's like taking stones and putting them in your backpack. Now you fill up your backpack every day with stones, but yet you want to grow up the Mount Everest. You will never get to the top because you're going to fall down. The one good thing that will show you that you are really taking these things and you're not throwing them away is if you don't sleep at night. If you struggle to sleep at night, if you're not focusing when you're supposed to sleep, because they all come back from the canvas, from the backpack to your brains, that's when you realize this is actually a big problem. So the simple solution is move on. There are 1,000 problems, 1,000 opportunities waiting for you tomorrow. This one shouldn't be taking you from focusing on that. And yes, there's no shortcut to getting better knowledge than reading. Read, read. And reading doesn't necessarily mean opening books. It's about also listening, but listening not to speak, but listening to absorb with intent. Sometimes once you've listened, you don't have to answer. Just listen, nod, move on.
Beautifully explained. And if I may, from these Alfredism, as you call it, if I may dissect a few things so that we understand a little bit better. Uh, Three things from the points that you made. Number one, I want you to elaborate a little bit more. First of all, the point. Let's talk about health first. You're right. Uh, Alfred, as the CEO, as the leader, as the president of CIMA today, when Alfred goes on stage, or if anybody goes on stage, the first thing people look at you is your personality. If you're
100%.
not, if I'm not fit, there are no shortcuts to that. I cannot present. That means I'm not disciplined at all. Please elaborate a little bit more on that. And
And
sorry, go ahead. You
yeah,
mentioned a
yeah,
very important point.
examples.
You mentioned that when you go in your meetings, you can easily see that. You can easily see that who's not taking care of themselves. Please elaborate a little bit more on that. Go ahead.
So I can give you examples on all three, by the way.
Okay, sure. Go ahead.
I can go into a meeting and I can see that this person
Uh,
is not fit, is not eating well.
hmm.
And I can go into a meeting and I can see that this person's soul is not right. And I'll give you examples maybe on both occasions.
Sure.
But I can also go into the same meeting, Yudvir, and tell you that this person didn't read. This person doesn't read, doesn't like reading. This person doesn't like developing himself. This person doesn't like, and I'll maybe touch on examples of where I see that. So, and there are no shortcuts to this, Yudvir. You will not get that overnight. And there are no shortcuts where you can go, these days people go to the IV booth, intravenous booth, because they want to get healthy quickly. They put drips into their bodies and they think tomorrow I'm going to be healthy. Your body is the same as growing a tree. The roots must be right, must be embedded, and it takes a while for you to do that. And when you get onto that stage, we can actually easily see what part of fitness is not really great for you. Because if you and I are not the people that have endured resilience in the jobs that you and I do as CEO, we spend many, many hours not doing hard work, but thinking. People forget that thinking consumes the same amount of energy as someone who is doing hard labor the whole day. You actually get more tired thinking, applying yourself to difficult issues. And if you have not gone to training, you can actually see it. Sleeping alone is not going to solve it. So I do see that. And my advice to people is eat healthy, really eat healthy. Do not eat foods that are quick when you are going to be doing long-term stuff. They're going to go away very quickly. You know that. The diet is quite an important part. The second part of the diet is, secondly, make sure that your body physically is fit. So as someone like myself, I do have hobbies, and one of those hobbies is getting on my bicycle and riding for long hours away. One, it clears your brain. Two, it makes you fit. Secondly, get your cardio right, because your heart also needs to be balanced. So that, honestly, we tend to forget this. Typically, we say people who should focus on this are athletes that run, athletes that require to exert their bodies. But we forget that they do that for a living. But also, when we work to support our living, we also have to be fit. The second part is the soul. If you go into any meeting and you find people that are really focused on negativity, it's because all they have seen, all they have carried is the baggage that's not resolved. They have not seen solutions that are solved. They have not thrown away solutions that are solved. They have not looked at things where they say, you know what, it moves on, it was not for me. They've hung out to those things. And trust me, in that meeting, it's the day I meet you in the morning. It's a beautiful day. And I say, good morning, Mr. Yodvir. And we say, what is good about this morning? Those are the kind of people that you see. Whereas when you see Alfred and you say, good day, he tells you about the countless opportunities and you're not going to make him stop talking. And then finally, reading, honestly, as I mentioned, reading is not necessarily about just reading. Reading also teaches you to listen, because you cannot read and talk at the same time. And when you read with the intention of actually knowing something and being able to interpret. So people think that we read to learn. Yes, of course. You're going to learn something. If I'm going to read something scientific about the sun and how it revolves and how far we are and what can we extract from the moon, I'm going to get clever and become an engineer. Yes, that's a part of that, but I get tested. The other part of reading is actually when you read, you become silent, you become one with yourself. You hear and you listen with the intention of hearing people, not with the intention of talking. So you see that very quickly in a room where I speak for 2 minutes and then this person is all over talking. He didn't even hear the end of the story. You can see quickly that that person, honestly, in terms of competence and the energy and the experience, is not there. And finally, all of this requires discipline. And discipline, honestly, nobody's going to teach you discipline but yourself. And discipline, honestly, is about foregoing things, not necessarily doing things. Discipline, people think that I'm going to be disciplined to do X. No, 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 no. That's the wrong way to look at it. Discipline is about what you stop doing, because it's actually hard to stop. Easy to start, hard to. If you can learn to stop doing stuff, then you get learning to be disciplined.
Very nice. I also want you to explain another aspect of this, and that will be a good segue to my next question as well. My next question is about leadership. But before you, what are the leadership qualities? But before you head towards that, I also want you to touch upon, because you just mentioned at the start of the conversation, very good point, which I see all the time. You said, people will replace you if you don't. I mean, I'm not using that, but if you don't evolve yourself. So sometimes, if I am working at a mid-level management or at a low level in the management, I want to become the CEO, I want to become the leader in my own department or the company. So, what should I be doing so that I become the leader of the organization? Please explain.
So the couple of things,
Mhm.
you'd and I'm probably going to mention something that's sounding as like a contradictory point on this issue.
Sure.
We replace roles, not people. We replace roles, and that's where it becomes a bit contradictory. You, the roles best serve the organization. And yes, at times the role will come with someone who's got the personality that we can see that this person is of great asset to the organization. But at the core of that, we need a management accountant that does this job today like this. If I have a nice personality to be able to talk and do other things, I could get promoted to become the chief financial officer, or I could become a director of finance. But the role is that over time, we always look to see how this role improves. How can we do better? How much more can we get out of the role? That's the evolution of an organization. If I'm an interviewer, what else, what other tools can come? What other solutions can I use to tease out information from people? What else can I learn? What can I gather? And those tools, normally when they come, they tend to replace what the roles were doing and evolve in the role. So, what I have noticed for myself is that one, as a leader, you really need to be in tune with yourself. If, as a person, in tune with yourself, develop your competencies, be aware, self awareness. The first best leaders are the ones that know themselves best. Secondly, understand the role best and know that the role is going to change. In fact, encourage that the role changes because you don't want the change to be done to yourself. If the change is done to yourself, you have lost. It's too late. If I come to you and I say to you, you know what, we've been thinking about this. I've already thought it. I've already got somebody in mind, and that person is going to come. So, as a person, remember that the role is important. The last part is look, scan the market. Colleagues, these days, and people out there, I think we've seen this, the world has become very small. When I grew up, for me to communicate with you, I used to send a fax. I remember those days. I used to
Yeah.
write a fax, go to a fax machine, send it to you. You'll probably get it when you get to work. We are 6 hours apart. So I send it to you in the morning here. You'll probably get it 9 o'clock your time. It's 3 o'clock my time. So you go now get it at 3 o'clock. Today, I can send it now to you. You and I talk via email. We were conversing right now with the office, having a good conversation about the trophy, what's happened, the relationships. And the world has evolved and it's so interconnected because the decision making happens real time. You need to be moving with those times. So the CFO that we had, the role of a CFO in 1985, 1995 when I started, is a different role today. Sure, the cores are there, but we've taken away about 20% of what used to be done that time. So you need to be scanning the market, developing yourself, and growing with what changes.
Alfred, I also want you to touch upon of course, there are many legends from South Africa in rugby and cricket, but I also want you to touch upon two legends and what can we learn from them. You are from South Africa, so I have to ask you this question: the land of Nelson Mandela and Mahatma Gandhi. Please, please.
100%.
Yeah,
Two great people in our life.
yeah,
And I happen to have lived through their, when they were alive, during their time, both of them. So Mahatma Gandhi, as he was preparing to go back to India, I was a little boy. So growing up, went back to India to do things, grew up in Durban. That's why when the Indian cricket team comes to South Africa,
yeah.
there's not a better place than going to Kingsmead Cricket Stadium and playing in Durban because that's a homage of the man that shaped our history. Then Nelson Mandela obviously went to prison. I kid you not, I think he went to prison when I was just about to be born in the 60s. Just I was being born, and went out of prison when I was at university, my first year. Very humble people. Now, these are people who almost their lives were dedicated to fighting injustices all throughout their life until they died. And they were willing to sacrifice everything. So and I'll talk to lessons that we're learning from them. Then the second thing is that they get out of the hardships, having fought, and yet they forgive every single person that they believe took their lives away. So they will be willing to sit there and talk to the people as if they are friends. And then finally, never looked for anything. If you went to Nelson Mandela and you were praising him in his face, he will tell you, no, 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 it's not about me, it's about you. Leave me alone. Just let me be. First president that was wearing shirts to work, not suits. First president that will break ranks with people that were coming to visit him, break ranks with protocol and go out and actually greet children first before he greets the elder. So, what did we learn about this lesson? So, what we have learned with these lessons is that people that come from very humble backgrounds are people that have deep seated emotional connections with what needs to be done and what needs to be corrected in the world. The second thing we learned with them is that if you are going to be the strongest leader and you need the energy, emotional energy to go, you need to be a servant first. If you are going to serve yourself first and put yourself first, doesn't work. And we have seen people that followed could not actually match that if they did not put other people first. It led to the point that both these two gentlemen that have since passed on have led to South Africa having the best constitution in the world, where the universal rights are guaranteed for people. For example, South Africa is one of the few countries in the world where anybody has the right of reply to anything. I can't just come here, look at you, take you to jail without giving you the right. So you've got that universal rights, irrespective of whether you are new, you've just joined South Africa. And the ability to integrate into this environment. There's something about coming from an environment where you are poor, where you have little, and you can give. And that has led to, in South Africa, we talk about the process of Ubuntu. Ubuntu means people. Ubuntu is a concept of saying you are a person because of other people. You cannot be a person alone. You are defined by being a person because of other people. So if you are not acknowledging other people, you are not a person. So acknowledge other people, work with other people, and that concept talks to putting them first.
Great.
And
Yeah.
you will see Yudvir that permeates almost in all the sports. All our sporting people, whenever they talk, they always have a humble background. You talk A.B. de Villiers in cricket, never says, I'm good. He says, hey, I was good because my team supported me. My captain supported me. Even going to rugby, you'll hear Siakol is our captain. Never says, oh, I'm good. He says, oh, you supported me so much. I got energy to do well. So, yeah.
Great. I also want you to touch upon this aspect. Of course, there are many things we can talk about. Two great leaders, Nelson Mandela and Mahatma Gandhi. We'll have to move to the next topics quickly, but I just want you to touch upon one more aspect. Both of them fought oppression. Both of them fought against injustice. And both of them, it was not easy to fight against great powers, but through non-violence. It's very easy for today to make an excuse and pick up arms. We see insurgencies in so many different parts of the world when people are picking up arms. We are fighting injustice, we are fighting oppression. But here are two prime examples in two different parts of the world, one in Africa and one in Asia. Two people fighting against great powers, very simple individuals. You mentioned about their clothing, their lifestyle as well, but fighting against great powers without any arms, non-violence. Please.
And what they have learned, what they had taught us, and what they tried to teach us everywhere is that peace begets peace. Violence begets violence. And the issue with violence is that it does not stop with generation. It becomes intergenerational. So if I come and I wipe out this generation of the Yudvir, the children of Yudvir are going to hear that the Ramosedi clan took out the Yudvir clan. That animosity, they grow up with that animosity. And once they have enough power, probably not one generation, not two generations, 3 generations later, they want a revenge because how come you took our grandparents, our ancestors away from us? So they had learned very quickly, because you will also realize that Nelson Mandela probably at some point had advocated for a little bit of uprising against the regime, but very quickly realized that this is not helpful, because when I do that, the response is that. So it's going to become a tit for tat. We are not sitting and not listening to each other. So he's the man who acknowledged that violence begets violence, murder begets murder, and all you're doing is becoming a zero-sum game. So that's the first lesson that I saw. Secondly, they also spoke, you will see throughout that period, is they spoke very little during that period. Mahatma Gandhi had the beauty of just going to sit in front and protest, not say a word. And they said that there is nothing more strong than actually being silent and showing the person that I am not giving up. I'm quiet, but I'm here. I'm not giving up. And that actually means that you don't have to debate. You don't have to talk. You don't have to raise your voice to show you are powerful. Actually, the most powerful people are probably the quiet people sitting in the corner, because they are in control of their emotions. So they have taught us that in order to be a leader, you don't have to be in the front. You don't have to be shouting. You have to be at the back and put the people in the front. The third one that they actually taught us is that there's a thing in Africa where people talk about conversations build nations, because it is through talking that I actually eventually get the point of view of where this person comes from. And in effect, when we talk a little bit more, we are not different. We have the same principles. We respect each other. We want health. We want wealth. We want to grow. We want to see peace. I want to see the world. You want the same things. I want my children to do better. You want your children to do better. You want the world to be at peace, to be together. We all want that when we talk like that.
Thank you for such amazing points. And at this point, I'll also like to talk about CIMA Mayor's Trophy. But before I talk about CIMA Mayor's Trophy, I want to understand a little bit about CIMA. Then we'll talk about CIMA Mayor's Trophy. And once again, we'd like to remind our viewers, you're watching us live on Channel Y across Canada on Rogers, Bell, Telus, Ignite, and Shaw Cable. And in the US, you're watching us live right now on Sling, Dish Network, coast to coast. And you're also listening us live on Radio Y, FM 105.9. And some parts of this discussion will also be published in our print newspaper midweek. For those viewers who may not understand about CIMA, most of us know, but please, if you could explain about CIMA, please.
So broadly, we have professional qualifications. A lot of people know that you can become a doctor, study, write the exam, practice, belong to the practice council, and you practice as a doctor. We can be an engineer and belong to engineering council. Accounting also has professional qualifications, largely two. The one is called chartered accountants, and in America as well in Canada, they call it the certified public accounting. These are people who are trained to do auditing, to put annual financial statements together, and they can be able to interpret financial statements for you. That's the one stream of management accounting. You can qualify as a financial accountant and get that qualification. Throughout the world, they call it differently. In South Africa, they call it chartered accountancy. The second stream of accounting is called management accounting. These accountants tend to be the ones that help you put the budgets together. They understand you as a business owner. They translate your vision as a business owner into what it means, what it will cost. They'll give you a forecast as to run your business for the next 5 years. This is how much revenue you're going to make. This is how much money you're going to make. They tend to integrate themselves in understanding the business, understanding the strategy, translating that into plans, helping you measure and understand the key milestones of the business. Those are called management accountants. Our qualification, called Chartered Institute of Management Accountants, is producing, supporting people that do that qualification. And that is the qualification. CIMA is the team in Canada that has been working with the mayor for over 22 years, plus 22 years, where they actually had a foresight that in as much as qualifications grow people, qualifications create environments, sport has such a big impact on actually creating teams, creating knowledge, and making people understand themselves. So that's the difference between the two qualifications.
Great. And you're right, sport has a very massive impact. And we like to thank CIMA for all the support they've been giving to these youngsters. Amazing tournament. This was the 22nd year of CIMA Mayor's Trophy, and we have Alfred over here. So we like to see him again visiting Canada. But I must compliment the entire team here who put up the CIMA Mayor's Trophy, including our Mayor of Toronto, Olivia Chow. There were many other dignitaries who came to witness this matches. This was the first time that Ymedia we also participated, and fortunately for us, our team did well. We had three girls also, and two of the girls were participating as a top order batter and opener bowler in the final match against Rogers. So we had great time. Thank you to you, Alfred. Before I let you go, I want to ask you, how was your experience as leading?
Canada.
Yeah,
And
Canada. Oh, Canada.
and the trophy. And well, the most welcoming people, obviously CIMA welcomed me coming there. You know, when we arrived on site, the first person I met is actually your team members.
Okay.
Um,
Thank you.
and someone who likes, and I met them and we chatted. I got such a warm welcome from your team, your media group. I really, really appreciate that, and that I
Thank you.
think gratitude to you and your team. My impression of Canada, beautiful country. It's a country that is well developed, a country that's welcoming of people that come. I felt home. I felt safe in Canada. I felt welcomed. I had a few other sessions outside the Mayor's Trophy, and I really thoroughly enjoyed my engagement with the different people that were there. The Mayor's Trophy is unique. I have not seen anything like that elsewhere in the world where the mayor brings people. You'll be pleased to know I also held the bat. I was wearing my suit, but we did an exhibition match in the beginning.
Yes,
Suit
yes.
less tie, there was a t-shirt, and we did that, and I enjoyed that. The engagement, you can actually see that sport because there were different people from different standards and backgrounds, and yet we were all on the same level. So Alfred as the president, the mayor as the mayor, wearing t-shirts, wearing sports clothes, all level, all on the same thing, bringing nice camaraderie, sport, fraternalism, support of the people, the growth. And that's the power I saw with this, that I'm hearing that it's in as many schools. It's gone grassroots. And the best thing I have seen in South Africa that has actually brought people together is an investment in grassroots sports, because these children grow up learning all the lessons of resilience, thinking forward, leadership, working with teams, learning about yourself, and also learning how to fail and pick yourself up and listen to other people, because you can only win in a team.
Alfred, in the interest of time, if I can squeeze in one last thing before I let you go, this is up to you now. This is not a question. The only thing I want to ask you is, if you had to share one thing, it could be anything from Alfredism, that to all our generations. You said a very profound thing earlier. I love actually every word that I listened from you. Either it was in our earlier conversation, but today it's amazing. All of them are great. But you said a very profound thing. that, conversations. Then if we pick up violence, it impacts generations. But if you pick up on the conversation side, it impacts generations. But I want you to say anything from Alfredism, which you think our generations you can pass on that wisdom to our generations. Please go ahead.
So probably two things. I come from a humble background. If I have to dial back a few years, I probably was someone who never got Christmas clothes. And I'm not asking for pity, I'm just explaining the background. So never got to those things. And for me to sit here, Yudvid, and get an opportunity to speak to you, having been inaugurated as the 93rd president of CIMA, that's over 100 years old with steeped tradition, and it's not an organization that's from yesterday, shows us a couple of things. One is that no matter where you are, if you dream enough and you think enough, you will get there. That where you are does not define where you're going to end up. And that it honestly starts with you. Because if you're not going to get there, yes, opportunities don't come easily, but I did not know about this opportunity 50 years ago when I was little. So opportunities honestly don't come, but you also, if the door for that opportunity is locked, open another one. Because I had to go find a door for this and open it as it was not there 50 years ago. So if it has to be, if I may leave people with that, if it has to be, it has to start with you.
Great. Thank you so much, Alfred. It was great talking to you as always, and we look forward to welcoming you here again in Canada.
Mhm.
It's an honor, privilege. I thank you with folded hands. And you're from the land of Nelson Mandela and Mahatma Gandhi ji, and a true example. As I've been doing in the last 25 years in all my interviews, all my questions, while I'm discussing, I have a set format, but of course, I start picking up questions from
I
certain times
noticed.
from the replies. So, treat listening to you, Alfred. Thank you so much. Wishing you all the best. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, and thank you for having me. All the best.
All the best. Welcome. Thank you. Thank you. Take care. Bye for
Bye.
now. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.